Please allow me to welcome you to today's Q&A webinar for publishers and administrators. If you are a self-administered songwriter, that's fine. You are more than welcome to join, but please note that we will focus on topics that are primarily pertain to publishers and administrators today. My name is Maurice Russell. I am Head of Rights Management for the Mechanical Licensing Collective, the MLC. My role includes publisher services, and in fact, in that capacity, I've met many of you over the last few months and will be dealing with many more of you in the coming months. I'm joined today by Mike Scheidman, who is Manager of Publisher Services. Mike comes from publishing administration and brings a wealth of publishing and administration experience to the MLC. So now let's get into an overview of today's agenda. First, we're going to cover common questions that we typically get to try to get those out of the way. And we're going to be using an exciting new tool called Thought Exchange to facilitate the Q&A session. And this way, we'll be able to crowdsource all of your questions, and by rating them, determine which topics and questions are most important to the group. Before we start with one more introduction, I'd like to introduce Will Grimley, who is a special guest who will be joining us today. Will is from Thought Exchange, and he will be leading the Thought Exchange Q&A exercise. Welcome, Will. All right, again, we wanted to go through a few key topics before we jump to the Q&A. So let's bring up a few slides. We're going to start by focusing on things that we hear a lot from publishers, commonly asked questions, just to get those out of the way. So on our first slide, we're going to revisit what the MLC does and what it does not do. The MLC was established to maintain a public database of musical works information, and that is available to anyone who wants to review the musical works database by clicking the link on our homepage. The musical works database basically provides the same musical works information to the public that it provides to you within the portal. If you're a member of the MLC, it just does not have the functionality to register and update works. The MLC also administers a blanket license covering mechanical rights for digital audio services in the US. Those rights are, again, audio digital mechanicals, which include downloads, on-demand streaming, and ringtones. Another key function of the MLC is that it receives and matches sound recording usage from digital audio services, matches those uses to musical works, and then pays the underlying rights holders. Key aspect of this is because the MLC's blanket license does not supersede voluntary licenses, the MLC plays a key role in that it receives all usage, whether it's under the blanket or under voluntaries, matches that usage, pays out whatever pertains to the works that it represents under the blanket, and then instructs the digital audio services which transactions need to be paid under voluntary licenses. So all of the matching is happening in one place. And last but not least, we collect and distribute US digital audio mechanical royalties to music publishers, administrators, foreign CMOs, self-administered writers, and lyricists in the US. Mike, why don't you walk through some of the things we don't do, just to clarify that for people.
Okay, yeah, so fundamentally, that's what the MLC will do. So what will the MLC not do? So we are not administering or collecting performance royalties, and we are not replacing performing rights organizations. Performance royalties are an entirely separate royalty stream from digital audio mechanical royalties that the MLC is collecting. And as I'm sure you know, performance royalties are typically generated when a song is played on the radio or TV or played at a public establishment like a restaurant or bar. And while interactive streaming services do also generate a public performance royalty, that royalty will continue to be collected by performance rights organizations. So as a publisher or administrator, it's most likely that you're already a member of a PRO, and that relationship is not impacted by what the MLC has been tasked with under the MMA. Similarly, we are not replacing Sound Exchange. Sound Exchange administers and collects a separate statutory license for the digital performance right in sound recordings when a song is played on non-interactive digital platforms like Pandora. They are responsible for paying artists and record labels. And as Maurice pointed out, we at the MLC are responsible for administering, collecting, and paying digital audio mechanical royalties related to the underlying composition only. We also will not be administering or collecting mechanical royalties for physical products like CDs and vinyl or cassettes. That type of licensing will largely continue as it has historically and is not covered under the scope of the blanket license. The MMA also does not empower us to administer or collect royalties related to audiovisual products. So any mixed use or bundled use that includes a video component is not covered under the scope of the blanket license. The blanket license is limited strictly to digital audio uses only. And finally, we will not be administering and collecting royalties generated outside of the United States. So for example, if a DSP operates and offers a service to US consumers, that the MLC is entitled to collect those royalties generated in the US under the law. However, if the same DSP also operates and offers a service to consumers outside of the US, which is very typical, under the law, the MLC is not entitled to collect those royalties generated in other countries. So yeah, just to recap, the scope of the blanket license is very narrowly defined under the law, and it doesn't allow for us to administer these other rights. It's not by choice, but rather the way the law was set up, and we're required to operate within the confines of the law that established the MLC.
Thanks, Mike. Next slide. So we have a few frequently asked questions we wanted to run through. We say 5 and 5, and we had intended to do these in 5 minutes. We may take a little longer than 5 minutes because we want to make sure that we cover them. The first is, how will historic unmatched mechanical royalties be paid by the MLC? I think many of you know by now, because we made a big press release about it, that we received $424 million of historical unmatched royalties from the DSPs, along with the supporting usage on February 15th. That basically comprises the number for 20 digital service providers that transferred their historical unmatched over to us. The DSPs have until June 15th to deliver the remaining data for their unmatched, including data regarding any partial payments made where the rights holders were, for some of that were made basically on a partial basis. We need to know who they paid so that we can better understand who needs to be paid. So we cannot, begin determining how much is owed to a given rights holder on any partially paid work until we have this additional data. In the meantime, we've begun reviewing the data and are trying to identify and resolve any errors that have to do with formatting issues. Once the process is complete, we will ingest the data into our internal systems, where we will analyze it and begin the internal matching efforts to prepare to make the data available to our members. and to the public. At that point, members will be able to search the data and submit claims where they have identified the use of a work, and then get paid the related royalties. Again, we are working through the next level of analysis on this data, and we will continue to keep you updated and to update our website with additional information when it becomes available. Mike, you want to take the next question?
Sure. Yeah. So how can I be sure my musical works are accurately represented in the MLC's database? So there are several ways to do this. If you're a member, you can use the MLC portal to verify the accuracy of your works. If you find any inconsistencies or mistakes, you can edit the works individually or use our bulk work upload spreadsheet to update or register multiple works at a time. If you're already, if you already have works in a spreadsheet or some type of asset management system that can produce an export of your works data, you can also participate in our data quality initiative, or DQI. The DQI was developed to provide publishers, administrators, and other rights holders with a streamlined way to compare large schedules of their works against the MLC's data to ensure the MLC's data is consistent with theirs. The MLC will provide DQI participants with reports that highlight the discrepancies between the two sets of data so that the rights holder can more easily address those discrepancies and improve the quality of the MLC's data. So from there, you'll be able to confirm whether the data in your records or the data in the MLC records need to be updated. If you're currently not an MLC member because your works may be administered by another publisher or administrator, you can still access the MLC's database via our public search, and from there check your works data that way. But just note that only a member is able to actually edit the existing works or add new works to our database.
Thanks, Mike. Next question. What is the connection between the MLC and the Harry Fox Agency, HFA, and how does it affect my works registration? Well, HFA is a vendor to the MLC. It's a privately owned company that has been in the music rights business for nearly 100 years. When the MLC was designated about 18 months ago, a decision needed to be made about the creation of the database and creating the back end. And just given the timeline, it was a very sensible choice to bring on a vendor who had all of those pieces already together. HFA provides several services to the MLC, including sharing its musical works, ownership information with us, and it's all available in our database. They've done this and will keep doing this on a continual basis. If you are a publisher or self-administered songwriter who regularly registers your works with HFA, you do not need to also register them with us, and that's very important to note. They will continue to share their data with us. However, you do need to become a member of the MLC and to set up your banking and contact details so that we can pay you royalties and collect for the works that you have under the blanket. If you're a publisher or self-administered songwriter who has never registered your works with HFA, you are not required to. You should become a member of the MLC and you can register your works with us. Okay, Mike.
Yeah. So question 4, which DSPs is the MLC collecting from? So any DSP that operates in the United States and offers a service that includes audio-only interactive streaming or downloads is eligible to secure a blanket license under the MMA. The service is also required under the law to file a valid notice of license with the MLC. And those notices are published on our website now, so you can see a full list of the DSPs from which the MLC will be collecting royalties. And I think we should be able to put that link in the chat probably. But every notice we receive from a DSP gets posted to our website, and you can actually view the details they provided within related to the services and configurations that they intend to include under the license. And question 5, when does the MLC collect and pay royalties? So the MLC is collecting royalties from the DSPs on a monthly basis. They account to us monthly and send us all of their sound recording usage data for each month. 45 days after the end of each monthly reporting period, the MLC is required to be in receipt of all of the usage data so that we can complete the sound recording to musical works matching process, and then invoice the DSPs for the royalties due under the blanket. So for example, for the January reporting period, the first reporting period under the blanket license, all DSP usage data is due by March 17th. So approximately 30 days after the DSP invoicing deadline, the MLC will provide statements and payments to our members. So our first royalty distribution will be in mid to late April, and thereafter we'll pay royalties on a monthly basis. And I think we can post a link in the chat to our website that will provide some additional information about payment timeline. And I'll turn it back over to you, Maurice.
Great. So next, we want to turn our attention over to Thought Exchange. Brief introduction, Thought Exchange is an online crowdsourcing platform that allows groups of people to have conversations on topics that are important to them. Today, we're going to use it to determine the questions that are most important to this group. First, you will be encouraged to share your thoughts independently and confidentially, and then you will have an opportunity to rate the thoughts of others. Thought Exchange will help us to learn what's on everyone's mind. Please note that we will not be answering any questions in the chat. Please utilize Thought Exchange to submit your questions. Will Grimley, who I introduced earlier, is with us from Thought Exchange, and he will guide us through the process. Will?
Thanks, Maurice. Hello, everyone. I'm just going to share my screen here so you can see what we're going to be working with today. So my name is Will from Thought Exchange, and I'm going to be helping you ask some questions to the lovely folks here at the MLC. In order to do this, we're going to use a tool to crowdsource the most important questions you have for the team. Now, once you access this tool, you will need to follow 3 steps. So the first one is share 1 to 3 questions that you would like to share, that you would like to ask the MLC. The second step will be to rate other people's thoughts or questions, and you can rate them on a scale of 1 to 5 in terms of how much they resonate with you. And then once you've finished rating, you will have the opportunity to discover the top thoughts, and the team at the MLC will start to answer them once we've gone through the process. You'll have 6 minutes to do this, and I'll be starting the timer that you can see on screen once you've all had the opportunity to access the exchange. And there are 3 different ways to participate in the exchange. So the first one, which I'm going to provide for you now, is a link that I'm going to drop into the chat. So just one moment, I'll get this ready for you. My apologies, everyone. Just trying to find the chat here. 1 second. There we go. So that's the first way that you can join. The second option is if you take out your phone, you can scan the QR code that you see on screen, and it's going to take you straight into the exchange, and you can add your questions there. And the third option is you can go to tejoin.com, which you can see on screen. And if you enter the 9-digit code, which is in front of you, that starts with the 9, then you'll be able to access the exchange that way as well. So just to reiterate, the 3 different ways that you can join, you can either use the link that I've put into the Zoom chat, you can use your mobile device to scan the QR code, or you can go to tejoin.com and add the 9-digit code. So rather than dropping your questions in the chat on Zoom, you can go to the exchange and add them there. So I'm going to start the timer here now that I've given everyone enough time to jump in. I just also want to remind everyone, so your answers are provided anonymously. So just be sure to be safe with your answers, with your questions, and respectful, and make sure that you're asking what's on top of your mind for now. And we will get to the top questions shortly, and we'll allow the team at the MLC to address them and provide answers to them. This is a really good way to see what is most important to the whole group, and then we can shortlist the questions which will resonate most with the group and go from there. So I'm just going to get started with this timer now, and you can all jump in. And I will remind everyone when there's about 2 minutes to go, just of the time that we have left. So you won't hear from me for a bit, but we'll be in touch soon.
Wow, Will, they're adding up.
Yeah, we've got a great amount of questions already, and we can also see that people are going in and are rating many questions as well, which is really good to see.
Looks like one of the top questions involves DQI.
All right, everyone. So just a friendly reminder that there's 2 minutes remaining. So this will give you the chance to go in and add any questions that you have just thought of, or it's going to also give you the opportunity to go in and rate as many of the other questions as possible. And that's going to give us a better understanding of what's resonating most with the group today. And you can also see on screen, we have some of the top questions or the questions that are resonating with the group displaying already, and they're also changing as we go in and rate more thoughts, which is great to see. So these are the ones that we'll look to hopefully address after this session is finished. All right. So the time is up. I'm going to close this exchange for now. So thank you all for participating and sharing your questions. I'm going to hand it back over to Maurice for now, but then we'll get back to this very soon to look at what the top questions were, and we'll go through and answer them together. So thanks, everyone.
Hi, Will. Thanks a lot. Really excited to see the outcome. So while the team works to categorize these questions in the background, I wanted to highlight a few important things. It's really important that you know that we will try to answer any questions, as many questions as we can today. But for those that we don't answer, our support team is always available. I'm going to start by just going over some things on our website to make sure that you're aware. I'm going to start by sharing my screen. Mike, can you see that?
Yeah, I can see that.
Important to know that when you're on our website and you have support issues, you can reach the support team very quickly and easily by clicking the little question mark button in the upper right hand corner, and you will actually have support ticket a template that allows you to type in the information that you need to type in and information about what your question is, and you can even create a topic here with this drop-down menu, and this will basically get it in the queue with our support team, and they'll reach out to help you. Or if you prefer, you can use the contact number here and call them directly. We have a support team that's dedicated and available 12 hours a day during the week and 9 hours on Saturday. And they are here to help you. A few other things that I wanted to touch on the website. The resources section. If you go to news and resources and you look at, sorry, my internet is a little slow at the moment. We have a ton of resources and tools for our members and for the public, including FAQs, information about membership, information that's targeted to publishers as well as self-administered songwriters. We have some instructive videos to help you, to provide you with more information on the details of mechanical licensing. We record webinars so that you can go back and review them for additional information. If you are an educator or you work or you know educators and they want to know more about the MLC, you can direct them here for our Educators Toolkit. So again, there's a ton of information here. and we will continue to add to this. We are really committed to communicating and educating and just keeping people as up to date as possible on what the MLC is and what it's doing. Under the how it works section, we've been adding a lot of information, and I think key things worth knowing is that we have an entire section now that's dedicated to royalty distribution that kind of outlines the timing and cadence of royalty payments with additional graphic information to help you plan, information about key dates in the distribution cycle. And we recently added statement layouts, which are also available in this section. So definitely check it out. There's a lot here, and with the royalty distribution upcoming, it would be definitely worth diving in and getting familiar. And of course, if you have any questions, please contact our support team. I saw a few questions in the chat about licensees and who will be paying under the blanket. Well, under the statute, DSPs are required to file notices of license. And those are all posted on our site. And you can click into any of these to find more information about the service and the offerings that it has. So I definitely urge you to check this out if you have any questions about who the licensees will be and who will be paying the MLC. We recently posted our dispute policy, which is also available in the How It Works section. And I see that we have a few questions about disputes, so we'll be talking about how that policy will be rolled out shortly. And as I touched on earlier, the information about the historical unmatched and the transfers from the DSPs is available on the website. This is the initial information that we have, but again, we're working through the next level of analysis. And as we have received more information, we will continue to add that here. So definitely keep abreast of the website, and you can also do that by subscribing to the MLC's newsletter. Okay. So how are we doing on the back end?
We're ready to go.
Perfect timing.
And give everyone. All right. Just going to share my screen here again, everyone, and you'll be able to see the top questions that we're going to address. All right. So we're into the analysis section of the exchange, and because of your participation, we were able to get 86 questions in total, as you can see here. But if we move further down, we have more of a breakdown, which is helpful for the MLC to understand. There are a couple of survey questions that we asked you at the start. The first one was, which of the below best identifies your profession? And as you can see, we have the majority of you are publishers on this call, but it's just good to have that breakdown for the MLC to understand, to get a bit more information about the group. And then we also asked how familiar you are with mechanical licensing. And it seems like the majority are very familiar. There are some where it's new to you. So that's great that you're on this webinar today. And some of you are somewhat familiar. And I also do appreciate the amount of ratings that we got as well. So this means on average, each participant rated about 15 other questions in total, which is great. So we really appreciate that. What we're going to do now is we're going to jump into a word cloud, which is going to show you the top words that came from the questions that were generated today, that were posted from all of you. And there are two ways that we can look at this word cloud. So you see that the words in the middle will capture the ones that were most frequently said. If we look at this particular word cloud, So when your questions were posted, the majority of the questions contain these such words like MLC, HFA, works, publishers, song. But then we can switch this word cloud to what resonated most with people. So once you had the chance to go in and rate other people's questions, we can see which words actually stood out the most from the group. And there is definitely a big shift there. So we can see that what was resonating most amongst the group is the words updates, best, registrations. So this is something that we can hopefully tap into a little bit further as we go through the questions. And we're going to do that now by looking at the common MLC themes which have come up before. And this is how we've categorized the questions that have come through just now. So what we're going to do is I'm going to hand this back over to Maurice after I display a few of these questions. So we'll look at dispute policy to start off with as one of the common themes. And as you can see, we have some questions that have stood out in this particular theme that I can hand back over to Maurice. So the first question that we can ask and give them a chance to answer is, will there be a space in the portal for us to review active disputes identified through the MLC dispute policy? And why this question was important to this particular person is this will be quite important for us to track disputes and conflicts that are having royalties held at the MLC. So Maurice, I'll hand this over to you if you'd like to answer.
Yes. So the answer is, in the short term, we won't be able to show active overclaims and disputes that are going on, but longer term we will. What we will be able to do is to show works that have been put on hold as a result of overclaim and dispute activity. But I understand that that's important, and that's something that will be coming in a future build of the portal. So we move on to the next question.
Yeah, go for it, Maurice.
Yes, when a song has a counterclaim between publishers, how will the MLC hold royalties and ensure a timely resolution? And the reason this is important is because HFA, they say, has been paying on the record even when there's a dispute, and that there are not requests for documentation. The MLC policy will involve placing works on hold, depending on certain conditions, which you can see when you review the policy. The request for substantiating documentation is also an aspect of the policy, as well as the notification to the parties involved of the dispute and the courses of action that they can take. And the next question.
We'll just get one more question from this this theme, Maurice, and then we'll move on to the next one.
Okay, how are disputes initiated and how are we notified? And the reason this is important is regarding incorrect data and claims. Overclaims and disputes will be triggered when we receive inquiries through our support channels that a work is in conflict. And one way that that could happen to you is that you're reviewing it in the portal and you believe that you have a claim on a work, but there's not enough available share for you to claim, or you attempt to make a registration and your claim is rejected due to overclaim. You can bring those to the attention of support, and that will trigger the disputes resolution process. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Maurice. We'll move on to the next theme that we had here, which was HFA and music reports. And far away with the first question there.
Sure. What is the best step for resolving registration and ISRC matching issues? Should we go through HFA or the MLC? You can send those to the MLC support team, support@themlc.com, and we will handle and review and handle that issue. Shall we move on to the next? Could you elaborate on the data sharing relationship with HFA? How frequently do they send you information from their their repertoire. It's really kind of a continuous, ongoing relationship. So the data is constantly shared. It's not an upload download situation. Next question: what are the best practices for songs that are already registered at HFA? How do we link them for future recordings? You can link musical works to sound recordings in the portal by updating the work. If you have a high volume of recordings that you need to link to musical works, you should contact us at support@themlc.com. Okay.
All right. Getting paid / payments is the next theme.
How will historical unmatched data from the DSPs be made available to us? Again, we reviewed the section of our portal that shows the initial amounts by DSP. As we have had a chance to get into the data that's been supplied and we have more information, we will provide more detail about the historical unmatched data in that space. So again, definitely keep abreast of what's going on at the MLC by subscribing to our newsletter and definitely visit the website. Next, if a publisher hasn't registered works yet, how far back will the MLC collect for? If you have not registered your work and it's basically in copyright control, the money will basically not be paid to anyone until it gets claimed. So basically, once you register, you'll be able to collect all of the money that goes back to inception, which is January 1st of 2021. And of course, if you are entitled to the historical unclaimed, you would also be able to receive any monies that are matched to your work from that as well. Next question: how will you prevent claims that might not be legitimate? Ensure correct payment. We will be definitely reviewing the activity within the portal to ensure that things are being handled as the people are acting as legitimately as possible. Of course, there is always the possibility that someone could be registering works that they should not be. If you have any issues, you should definitely bring those to our attention, again, by contacting support@themlc.com.
All right, thanks, Maurice.
Yeah.
We'll move into registration and data.
I think I'll let Mike take these.
Okay. So first question is, I've noticed multiple MLC song codes with the same ISWC and multiple ISWCs tied to the same MLC song code. How are you dealing with duplicates? So a couple of ways. We're kind of actively involved in the portal doing cleanup, but we also are asking our members to check their data, and that's really a big part of the onboarding and transition process to the MLC is for members is making sure that their data is as accurate as possible. So if you are finding inconsistencies or incorrect information with your works, you can update those yourself if you're a member through the portal. We have the a couple options there. You can do that on a work by work basis, or you can use our bulk work upload template if you're looking to update multiple works. Next question: has a platform been developed to view and claim unmatched royalties, and will beta testing with publishers happen? So we're still in the early stages of, as Maurice mentioned, of reviewing the data that we receive from the DSPs for their unmatched royalties. first step is reviewing and analyzing that data, and then we'll begin ingesting it. So we haven't quite gotten to the point of actually developing the unclaimed portal. That is in the planning stages, and we expect that to be probably rolled out later this year. But yeah, I'm sure we will be soliciting feedback from publishers on that process. And finally, DQI, should updates and corrections be sent via CWR Excel or another method? So that is really up to you as a member. If you are currently registering works via CWR, you can continue to do that and make the corrections that way. As I mentioned, we do have an Excel bulk upload template on the MLC portal that can also be used to update existing works or add new works to the portal. And then there's always the updating works on an individual work by work basis. So three different methods, and it's really depending on your preferred choice.
That's great. Thanks, Mike. The next theme is about the MLC, does and does not do.
I think we covered this, but let's see. After signing up with the MLC, will the MLC only collect and distribute mechanicals from the date of sign up? Yes, with regard to monies that are paid under the blanket, but again, there is a historical unmatched that we've discussed, and that predates the launch of the MLC on January 1st, 2021. And if you have musical works that match to that usage, you may also be entitled to payment from the historical unmatched. What is the MLC's fee? How are they being paid? How does their fee affect songwriters? The thing about the MLC is that there is no fee, there is no commission. The MLC is fully funded by the digital services. We distribute 100% of the money that we collect. So there really is no, at least no financial gating factor to becoming a member. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Maurice. Now we have DSPs.
When will DSPs share their final unmatched data with the MLC? Well, as I touched on before, we received the data and the royalties February 15th. We are still waiting for additional data that we will receive in June, and that relates to payments of partial shares on licenses. We need to get the information from them of who they paid so that we can better understand who would need to be paid in a given situation. And as we analyze data and receive more data from the DSPs, we will make that data available for you on our website in the historical unmatched section that we reviewed earlier. Next question. How to check if a company has a blanket license with the MLC as claimed for the use of music in our catalog. Again, we reviewed the notice of licenses that have been filed with the MLC from a variety of DSPs. That information is on our website. You can see all of the licensees that will be accounting to the MLC under the blanket. And I urge you to take a look at those and to review their submissions. Last, if we have a direct deal with the DSP and we'd like to move to the MLC. That is really, again, the MLC's blanket license doesn't supersede a direct deal, also defined as a voluntary license under the statute. So if you have a direct deal with a DSP and you're interested in moving over to the blanket, it really comes down to what that agreement says. So you really need to work that out with the DSP. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Maurice. And then we have questions that have fallen into an other category. So we haven't been able to theme these ones, but let's open up and see what's there.
Well, we have an MLC client services rep to that of HFA. Hey, Mike, you want to tackle that one?
Sure. So yes, in short, we have a pretty robust customer service model. So we'll have our customer support team that Maurice has mentioned a couple times. And in addition to the customer support team, there's also the publisher services team, Maurice and myself, who will be available to answer questions that arise. And we'll also be working in close collaboration with those same HFA reps to facilitate resolutions.
Will there be more Q&A sessions or trainings? There absolutely will be. We will have webinars similar to this on a regular basis. In fact, we will have one on Tuesday that will focus on the portal. So if you're interested in learning more about the portal and you have questions, you should join that webinar. And we will have webinars at least monthly, if not more frequently, covering a variety of topics. As I mentioned earlier, we record those webinars and they're available in the resources section of our website. So it would be probably a good idea to peruse those to see if there are any topics that would be helpful to you and to review some of those recorded webinars. Next question. Can you recommend a CWR format service for small independent publishers? Mike, do you have an answer for that?
That I'm not aware of, but I do believe there is a section on our website that goes into the DQI and CWR, and I think there may be some recommendations there that you may want to check out.
Sounds good. Did we get through all of the questions? Are there more? Will, I think you're on mute.
Thank you. We weren't able to get through every single question, but we have been able to go through the top questions for each of the key themes. So that's all that we will be able to share for now, but I'll hand it back over to you to finish up the session. And thank you everyone for participating.
Thanks again for joining us. I think Thought Exchange is an exciting tool for managing the Q&A process by really helping to identify the questions that are most important to the group. So I hope you found this a useful tool, and we look forward to using Thought Exchange in the future. I guess as we wind up, just want to remind people to visit the website, stay in touch with what's going on by subscribing to the newsletter, and most importantly, play your part by reviewing your works in the portal, adding works that are missing, updating them, linking them to underlying sound recordings, participating in the DQI initiative in order to handle larger volumes of works. I think all of that is key. It will definitely, I think, make an impact long-term having all of this data in an open space. But I think the key is having everyone engage with the data constantly. Mike, do you have any other parting thoughts?
No, I just wanted to thank everyone for joining and appreciate everyone's engagement. So hope to hear from some of the people on the call soon.
As do I. So again, we're here to help. Please reach out to support@themlc.com if you have questions. I want to thank Will Grimley for joining us today from Thought Exchange. I want to thank all of the people at the MLC that help us behind the scenes and make this look easy. Ellen, Lacey, Kayla, and everyone else. that's helped us. So with that, I think we're going to wind up. Thank you everyone for joining us, and have a fantastic weekend.